I'm Cray Beaumont Flynn. Welcome to Beyond the Design, a show that gives you a peek behind the curtain of the design industry and shares the stories of those that are the driving force behind it. Welcome to a special crossover episode of Beyond the Art and Beyond the Design today. Today we have guests of Mahota Textiles, Joanna John, and Bethany McCord. Mahota is the first tribally owned commercial textile company in the U.S. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. So why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about Mahota Textiles, where it came from, how it was started, and what you guys are trying to do.
Okay. Mahota Textiles started with Margaret Roach Wheeler. She is a Chickasaw textile artist, and she had the idea to create Mahota Textiles because as a hand weaver, she wasn't able to create our Chickasaw or Southeastern symbols and designs on a hand loom. So she wanted to be able to do that, to share that with others. And so she teamed up with Joanna, and they actually presented an initial proposal for the business plan to Governor Anoatubby. Mm-hmm. And if you listen to Margaret tell the story, she actually didn't really want it to be a business. She loved the idea, but she kind of just wanted to put it out there, get it out of her head, and
let someone else deal with it.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And Governor was 100% on board and loved the idea. And so it just sort of, snowballed from there. And next thing we know, Governor's like, I need a business plan. I am going to put you through a Shark Tank. And it was a whole thing.
That's when Bethany came in. Yeah.
Yes.
Gotcha.
So I came on board to help write the initial business plan and get the business started. And so we've sort of just took off from there. That was in 2017. And in 2018, we did a Chickasaw Shark Tank, very similar to the show. I mean, just as intense. And then we got the approval to move with a test phase. And in October 2018, we launched the business.
Gotcha. Well, fantastic. So you're about 8 years now in business for fully operational?
About 5.
About 5. Okay. I can't do my math. It's all right. So you're located in Oklahoma at the Chickasaw Nation capital, correct?
We are actually about 30 minutes from the capital.
Okay.
We're in Sulphur. We're near the Chickasaw Cultural Center.
Gotcha. Wonderful. So once you got the green light from your internal Shark Tank, what was the next steps? How did you actually get started and started collaborating and pulling all the various tribal icons and graphics into producing the textiles?
So when we were writing the business plan, our thought process was to start small. Mm-hmm. We knew we wanted to do blankets, and then purses and pillows just sort of came naturally with that. But we knew initially blankets was going to be our main product, and that's something Governor really wanted as well. So having a mill that could weave, what we wanted and at the quality we wanted, that was certainly a process. Mm-hmm. And so we found a mill in North Carolina, and they wove our first 3 designs, which were all designed by Margaret. And that's something we had also planned, was that we would just have 3 designs every year and start off with 3 products. Right. And it's sort of grown from there, but we have stayed true to keeping the 3 designs, and we've just incorporated that 2 are designed in within Mahota with our designers internally, and then we would feature an artist each year. And so we've stayed pretty true to the 3 designs a year.
So are the designs traditionally Chickasaw designs, or are you kind of reinterpreting them and translating them to a modern aspect? Or are they actually very specific and indicative of the Chickasaw Nation?
Somewhat. It just depends on the artist.
Yeah.
They are pretty traditional, and not just to Chickasaw, but all Southeastern tribes. You see a lot of the symbolism used in, Cherokee and Creek and even Caddo, Choctaw. So a lot of the symbols and designs were pretty similar. And so we see with the artists that they use those more traditionally, but we have had artists kind of take it and do sort of a modern twist to it.
So is your sales basically for residential, like home goods and accessories, or are you kind of expanding across various other sectors like hospitality?
We actually are. We've just recently started with the opening of First Americans Art Museum.
Mm-hmm.
They had asked us to create a customized design upholstery fabric for their cafe. So if you do visit the museum and eat in the 39 cafe,
right.
You will see our design on all the chairs there.
Oh, great.
And that's actually taken from our Chickasaw map design, just a piece of it and all customized to them. And then we have a few hotel projects that we're doing upholstery for. But as far as the main focus with Mahota Textiles online, it is home goods and accessories.
Perfect. Well, we need to chat after this interview because I'm actually launching a furniture line for the hospitality sector, and I need some textiles.
Well, sounds wonderful.
Come to the right place.
Yes.
So what's the inspiration? Is Margaret still very heavily involved in the design and the process, or do you have a full staff of designers creating the designs and icons and symbols to incorporate?
When we first launched, we had a designer, Taloa Underwood. And so the first collection, our heritage collection, was designed by Margaret. And then Taloa designed the next two collections. And we've just recently hired a designer. And so he'll be working on future collections. And in between, Margaret has designed a few others with this most recent collection, our tributes collection. She designed the Hatchet Woman and Sharon. So
Fantastic.
she is pretty involved. She's trying to somewhat retire. I say that. Yeah, I say that term very loosely with her because she says she wants to or would like to, but she hasn't really slowed down.
Yeah, it's her baby. You can't let go of your baby. So, and a lot of the symbols and designs that you come up with, are they specific to the residential and then for fashion, or you kind of translate that to different aspects?
It's definitely translated to different aspects. Of course, we like to stay true to the symbols and their meaning and how they look. But, like I said, there have been artists to take a modern approach to that. But we also like to create things that are pretty universal, that it doesn't have to be, you don't have to be Native American or, really like Chickasaw art to appreciate it, that it can go in anyone's home, Southwestern or just Western or modern or contemporary. Yes.
Yeah, it really does match in almost any kind of design space, I think.
Yes.
So are the blankets wool? What's the base material that you're using in the production of the textiles overall?
Our blankets are actually 100% cotton, and that is staying pretty true to being Southeastern, where our homelands, we originated in Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee, parts of Kentucky, where it would have been, cotton would have been what we would have used.
Yeah, being prolific in those areas.
Yes.
So how did you two get started and inducted into the Mahota Textile family?
I guess I was first, technically. I was working at the Artesian Gallery as the assistant manager. That's another benefit of Mahota being in Sulphur. We're here by the Artesian Hotel.
Right across the street, yeah.
Yeah, the Artesian Gallery. It was kind of an easy addition to the Muskogee Street, business. But I worked with Margaret. I loved working with Margaret. In the studios we had, at the time, Billy Hensley, James Blackburn, Pata Butcher, and Margaret was down at the end. And so she'd come down and talk to me, and one morning she said she couldn't sleep because she had this idea for a commercial company, but she didn't really want to do it. She wanted to retire, but someone needed to do it. And so the next day I came back and I said, well, Margaret, now I can't sleep because I think you should do it. And I think, we could do it together. Why not? And so we just kind of started writing down ideas and what we would want and what she would want. And I just kind of helped her with the writing part of it. And then we got to the point of the Shark Tank, and we needed a lot more financials and actual, business acumen behind it. And Bethany has an MBA, so she was perfect for that and just kind of jumped in and ran with it. So that's kind of how we got to know each other. Since then, I had worked at the Cultural Center, but I was still on the Cultural Advisory Board and still wanted to be a part of it. And so since then, I've transferred over here to sales, and I'm back in it now. So it's been great working with Bethany, like actually working with her. So, but yeah, that's how we got to know each other. And she's been with Margaret since, 2017 and 18. And I just came back on at Mahota in May. So.
How about yourself, Bethany?
So when Joanna left the Artesian, I had actually applied for her job at the at the art gallery, and so with I knew who Margaret was, but didn't know her, and so I came on as the assistant manager there, and later moving into the operations role, and Margaret had a studio there, and she would just come talk to me and share about, the business and where it was. And they had presented it to Governor, and he was on board, and things were just moving with it. And I was so excited for her. I thought, well, that's just so awesome. And when I had come to the art gallery, I did have my MBA, and I was kind of in this place where I wanted to start a business, but I didn't want to leave the Chickasaw Nation. But I didn't know what I wanted to do either. And so Margaret was, throwing out all these things and with Mahota and how it was moving forward. And then one day she said, would you like to be a part of it? And it wasn't even, that I had to think about it. It was, of course, I want to be a part of this. So I came on board and helped with the business plan and getting all of that together, and actually did that and the operations position for about a year and a half before I became a full-time Mahota employee. And so I've been full-time Mahota since July of 2019.
Are you both Mahota tribal citizens?
Not Mahota tribal yet, but we've talked about getting the brand put on us, possibly, like we brand our boxes, but we won't. We're both Chickasaw citizens, and I'm also Choctaw, but I'm a Chickasaw citizen. So
sorry for my flub. I meant Chickasaw. I'm looking at my notes and
it's a running joke anyway. It's okay.
I know you have a store in Sulphur. Are you represented anywhere else besides your hometown?
Yes.
We're actually in 42 locations across the U.S. Not yet in Canada, but we keep talking about it. So we may have to make a fact-finding mission up there sometime.
Yes.
Is this retail stores?
Yes.
Okay.
Retail, and then a lot of museum gift stores. So, and we're in
a country
several.
Club, pro shop. Yes, museum stores is where we started, and have gotten really good returned wholesale customers from our museums. The Chickasaw Cultural Center is amazing. I was just out in Santa Fe a few weeks ago and visited the Museum of Indian Arts and Culture. They're one of our wholesalers, and it does really well out there. And then the MOCNA, the Museum of Contemporary Native Arts, we're there too. Right. So we'd like to be, several more places. We're just adding to the list as we go.
Yes.
So you mentioned wholesale. Were you looking also at the potential opportunity of doing wholesale? to the design industry?
We have. It's been something we had talked about initially, and now with these sort of special projects coming along, like I said, the First Americans Museum and some hotel projects that we've had, and we actually have worked with a few designers on just print projects. So they're basically license agreements where they take our design and they print them on fabric. But now that we've sort of dabbled in that area, I guess you could say, we would like to eventually move more into that area.
Fantastic. So do you do commission, like special projects?
Yes, we do. It's very sort of case by case. And for the longest time, I actually, after Taloa left, I didn't have a designer. So I had to be very selective on those special projects that I took. But now that we have Tanner, he started the 1st of July. And so now that we have him, we can kind of start to pick up on those special projects again.
So since you are in a residential sector, are you looking at other sectors to get your feet wet and kind of expand the brand?
We've also talked about fashion. We just don't know yet what that looks like, where we want to go, because it's just so broad. I mean, you could do so much with it. And again, we try to start small and not just dive right in with a bunch of things. So fashion is definitely on our radar. We just don't know exactly what we're going to do there yet.
It's a hard industry to get your foot in and break down those doors. Definitely. What do you think about the urban flow of Native American artistry? You know, we've been on the upswing for so long now that it's really the it factor.
Yes.
Have you seen a resurgence in your own sales and people being interested in your line?
Yes, we have, especially with the more exposure we get. It's definitely, and then the artists, of course, like having Billy Hensley and Dustin Mader, some of these artists that are, definitely trending and people love their artwork. It helps us as well.
So,
I think sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I think I've picked up on the resurgence since like around 2020 or before. But I remember when the First Americans Museum was opening and Margaret was part of a fashion show that they had going up there. And they were filming several movies at the time and Killers of the Flower Moon. And we were still, kind of just coming off the Montford Chickasaw Rancher movie. So it felt like so many things were going on and new things were happening,
Right.
And I do think Oklahoma is a perfect area for all of the growth. The Oconna's going up. There's so much opportunity for everyone, and it is a really small world. So it really does help everyone. And, I was listening to your previous podcasts, and they're our friends. So it's really neat to hear of everyone kind of gaining from that resurgence,
Right, right. Well, I think Oklahoma is a well-kept secret, so no more people moving here.
Yeah. I think so too.
We like the quietness, and I think it has a lot to offer. Speaking of Dustin and Billy having various artists incorporating and designing some of the designs, have you had your door knocking a lot with other artists coming on board that want to participate and be part of a collection?
We have artists that will say, if you're looking for another artist, keep me in mind.
I got a great idea.
Yes, and we do. We love that. So it definitely, when we go to select our artists for the next year, there's no shortage of artists to choose from. We have several, and that's a good thing.
How many collections do you have throughout the year?
We just release one collection a year.
And the last one was tributes?
Yes.
Tell me about that collection.
So that collection includes 2 designs by Margaret, Hatchet Woman and Sharon, and then Billy Hensley's design, Ascension. And so they, one of the biggest things was Margaret's design Sharon is taken from some garters that were worn by Chickasaw, but designed probably Potawatomi design. And they are actually in the Smithsonian. So that sort of inspired her Sharon design. And she had lost a good friend that was Potawatomi. And so she sort of dedicated that design to her friend Sharon. And so Tribute's name just sort of seemed fitting for the collection.
And what was the name of the first collection?
The very first one was Heritage Collection.
Heritage. And what do those designs incorporate?
And that includes our sun symbol design, our forked eye design, and our Chickasaw map design. And I will say the Chickasaw map was definitely the best seller in that collection, and we actually brought it back in our travelers collection. And that's taken from a big part of history, the map of 1723, which was originally done on deer skin.
Right.
A really cool abstract piece that that's been just really popular. And it, we talk about how the designs just really go with anything, and I think that's a piece that's really spoken to people with any type of design or any type of decoration that they like. It really goes with anything.
Now, do you work with the Nation or the Cultural Heritage Center on some of your designs or product, saying, "Oh, well, we have a request for this," or?
Go ahead, Jane.
We do work with them on language for things like that. On the design, like that, that does come from several of our Chickasaw artists who are also employees, like Dustin Mader. And so we've worked with him before. But yeah, we definitely go to the language department for any translations, or if we have an idea in our head, they can kind of help us. I know that with the storytelling, when we've done that before, we kind of run that through them sometimes.
So if I purchased a pillow, which I probably will very soon, or a blanket very soon, is there a story or something that goes with it when you purchase it, so you know the history behind that design? Is that part of your packaging?
Yes, that's a big part of our whole marketing tool that we've done is that each blanket comes with a story, and that story is done by the artist to stay true to their design. And we also incorporate a poem. And the first few poems were written by Rebecca Travis, who is an authored Chickasaw poet. And she decided to, she's also a Mahota descendant as well. She's Margaret's cousin.
Okay.
But she decided to sort of hand over the reins this year. And so our poet was Sophia Montgomery, and she's a young Chickasaw artist still in school. And so we were able to feature her poems on this year's collection. So each blanket, when you open it, the first thing you'll see is a blanket description card with care instructions, a blanket description or story, and a poem written by a Chickasaw as well. And then for our featured artists, we like to include an extra little element, and that's a featured artist card with just a little biography about the artist and a photo as well.
That's fantastic. By Mahota. Tell me a little bit about the name Mahota and how that came about.
Did you want to, Joanna? I didn't know if you wanted to share.
So Mahota is Margaret's fifth great grandmother. And Bethany probably knows more of the specific history, but the logo has something to do with Mahota because it's the 5 concentric circles, which represent the 5 generations from Margaret to Mahota. And then we've had some where we've printed out each generation on each circle, but it was kind of too wordy. So we stuck with the circles for the logo. Yeah.
Fantastic. I mean, it's nice to bring that element into the design and the company. So what's next for Mahota as you move forward?
As we move forward, like I said, we would love to get into interior design more. And of course, these hospitality projects that keep popping up, are wonderful, and we love being a part of that. And the Chickasaw Nation is always expanding, always growing, but a lot of other tribes are too. So we would love to be a part of, whatever they're doing as well.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely hospitality and interior design.
Since you had your own internal Shark Tank with the Chickasaw Nation, have you seen a lot of other smaller companies that see the success and path that you've taken and wanting to actually follow in your footsteps?
We do get some inquiries here and there of people that just sort of ask how we got started.
Mm-hmm.
What do they need to do? But a lot, it's just different businesses, and it's really exciting because there's just so many people that have such great ideas, and
Right.
you have to just put it out there. You never know if it's going to work. And so I think the fact, hearing this story that Margaret had this idea, she just threw it out there. She just wanted to get it out there. And then, you see where it is now in just
Right.
5 short years. That really, with just support from our tribe, support from artists, support from just our families, it is where it is today because of that.
Now you just have the one retail location that's in Sulphur, correct?
Yes.
Are you looking to expand and having your own brick and mortar facilities as well?
We've talked about it, especially with Okana being built in Oklahoma City. We've talked about, how cool it would be to have a storefront right there in Oklahoma City.
Mahota outlet, yes.
Absolutely. So do either one of you actually dabble in the designs?
I do not.
Not yet, no.
Not yet. Uh-oh.
I think we could definitely collaborate with a designer, and, I think we both have our creative sides, but you saw our technical issues earlier, so I've seen what InDesign looks like. That's too complicated for me.
So tell me about the process of once the designs are actually created. What's the process to actually have them manufactured into blankets or pillows or any type of fabric?
So once we have our designs chosen, we basically just send a file to our mill. And interestingly enough, it's not just as simple as taking that file and having it woven.
Right.
They actually have to recreate the entire file into their programming, and some special software created just specifically for their looms. And so they recreate it. But one thing with our first mill was that it was a tapestry weave. And so with that, it would just happenstance, it would weave a backside. And people loved the reverse side just as much as they loved the front. Right. And it wasn't intentional. It just happened. And so once we moved mills, we were with our mill in North Carolina for a year. And then we outgrew them in 1 year.
Oh, wow.
And so we actually had to find another American mill, which was probably the hardest thing. It actually took us over a year to find one.
I don't think Bethany stresses enough how hard it is to find mills anymore. True. And so many used to be in North Carolina. That was there was so much history there, and it's almost impossible to find now.
Very true.
Yes.
Yeah, they found another in Pennsylvania that I still haven't traveled to yet. I'm excited. We're going next month, so I'll finally get to see, because everyone talks about how amazing it is and the huge, equipment that goes into it. So I just can't wait to see it.
Yes. So having the mill, they basically take these files. Well, from our first mill, where it was a tapestry weave, this mill specializes in upholstery, and each mill has their own unique way of doing things. And so they actually have to recreate the file, but then they have to create a complete backside to these blankets. It doesn't just weave that way.
Right.
Because in upholstery, it doesn't matter what the backside looks like.
Right.
So it's just a really neat process and how that works, and a very lengthy process. So it takes usually 6 to 8 weeks just to receive a first sample back. And then for production, it's anywhere from 12 to 14 weeks. So it's definitely a lengthy process. And that's sort of why we only do one collection a year.
Yeah.
Because it takes us about a year to get that collection out. So, or about a year and a half, actually.
A little time consuming, that you could say.
A little bit.
So when the designers comes up with a design, do they actually incorporate the colors in that design, or does the mill actually help you, saying because of the weave and the process?
A little bit of both.
Mm-hmm.
It just depends. They try to be as true to the color as possible. Of course, with COVID, we ran into the situation of, supplies and materials not being as, easily accessible. And that included our color palette as well. So we did see with that collection that came out, the Traveler's Collection came out shortly after, that colors were not exactly what we wanted, but we just kind of had to go with it.
Right. So what inspires and motivates you both to be in this industry?
That's a tough one. I would, it is inspiring being around artists. Margaret has always been an inspiration. Our friend Angie, who works with us, also called her, just a walking idea. She just always has ideas. She's definitely a person that you want to be around, and it's infectious. And it's an easy company to get behind. It's quality products made in the USA. We're proudly Chickasaw, and that's inspiring. It's a really, I think it's a great story and a great company.
A lot of pride there.
Yes, and I'll definitely piggyback off Joanna with the Margaret thing. She's just so inspiring. I mean, just her ideas. She's, like I said, trying to retire, but she just takes on more projects and just never stops and keeps going and is always just confident that it's going to work out. And so that's always inspiring. But also just to have the support of the Chickasaw Nation and to just be strong Chickasaw women that we are and know that we're not just, I have a little girl and I have a son and so I just try to be do the best that I can. And with this business, it's been really inspiring, especially for my son who recently graduated and he's attending OU this fall and actually majoring in business and has helped me a little bit with Mahota.
Mahota also.
Yes.
He showed me the ropes of the inventory space in the back. So yeah. Aiden's wonderful. So
that's inspiring to be inspiring. So
Absolutely. I had another question for you guys, and now I've just drawn a blank. So, being around that process and the industry that you're in, do you see a lot of elements that your competitors are actually coming? More and more competitors are coming on board that are Native American textile companies.
We've seen that just in the last, probably 2 years.
Yeah.
Where there were textile businesses that were maybe individually owned. I know 8th Generation actually was owned by a tribal citizen, and then his tribe purchased 8th Generation within the last couple of years, I think. So, and we see that a lot. That it's really neat to say we were the first tribally owned, but there are textile businesses that were owned by individual tribal members. And to see them growing and really sort of coming, in the forefront of media and reading about them, it is really neat to see that there are others doing it and have been doing it, really. Right. It's just they're getting more exposure now.
Right.
And I think that brings it back around to the Southeast. The 8th Generation is, really great and appealing to people. And one thing we want to make sure and have a space for is the Southeastern design, because so many of, people around my age, we grew up loving Native art, but that usually meant Southwest.
Correct.
Southwest art. And we were proud to be tribal citizens, but also didn't really know what our art looked like until we learned about it. So
very, very true.
To me, that was a big eye-opener, is appreciating Southeastern design and art and iconography and learning about it. You can tie so many modern day things in your life to the same lessons learned in our stories. So to me, I think that's where Mahota does kind of stand out from other companies, is that we're, definitely Southeast, and it gives a different look than what we've had in mainstream Native art before. So
very, very
that's
true.
another thing I love about it.
It gives a different perspective. I think a lot of non-natives believe, oh, we're just one tribe. Well, there's like 580, 590 tribes in the U.S., and we continue to evolve culturally and spiritually and artistically,
Yes.
And it's wonderful to see a company like this. So going back to Margaret, is she still involved? Does she still come into your office and say, I got a great idea?
Yes.
Almost every day.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Yeah. She stops in about once a week.
In.
Well, that's fantastic that she's still involved and sees her baby grow and prosper as it does.
And then, of course, at the staff meetings and all of our events, we just did a fashion show out at the Cultural Center. And of course, she was front and center there because, people really want to talk to her and see and visit with her too. So, yeah, she's still out there.
How hard were you hit during the pandemic? I mean, 5 years and 2 years, it was right in the middle of the pandemic. So you survived.
We did survive. And we have social media to thank for that. It kept us on the map, really. Without social media, we would not have survived through it. But our sales continued to, thrive and definitely online. Wholesale was not great during that time because, like we mentioned, we are with a lot of museums, and some just opened up, the first of this year, the end of last year. So they were closed for a while. So purchasing there was just not happening. But I would definitely say social media is what kept us going.
So you mentioned you do 1 year, or you do one collection a year, and Tributes was launched in June. Are you already starting to work on the next collection? What's the ramp up time?
Yes. So we should have our samples in this week for our next collection. And then once those are approved, we'll go right into production. We usually get those back at the first of the year. And then we won't launch them until the summer. So during that time, we're working on quality control. So we examine every single blanket that comes through, fold every single blanket, and package it individually. So it's definitely a process, takes a long time. And so we just like to have those, especially our blankets, have that already in at our headquarters, ready to go months in advance. So those should be in, like I said, the first of the year. And that collection will actually include our next featured artist, Brenda Kingerly. So we are very excited for that.
Fantastic. Do you have a name for that collection? Are you able to tell us?
We do not have a name yet. Usually once we kind of lay out the samples and look at everything together, that's sort of when we're inspired to name the collection.
Got it. I mean, that shows a lot of pride in your product and belief if you're hand folding every blanket and expecting every blanket. That's time consuming, and that's care. That shows integrity and care. Now, 5 years down the road, where do you see both of you within the company?
I personally would love to see more employees, more Chickasaw employees. That's sort of been one of the goals from the beginning, is that, we're providing jobs to our tribal citizens. So we just hired Joanna in May, and then Tanner in July. And so I'd love to see them over departments of people.
Right.
And
yes, I'm saying that I'm the head of the sales department. It's just one person so far.
Hey.
And I definitely see us being international. We've made a few international sales to individuals, but I'd love to be, in a few locations in Europe. And we've definitely got our eye on Canada. So definitely with sales to be expanding, and employees, and just bringing in more artists.
So let me ask you both, what does Mahota mean to you personally? And being Chickasaw tribal citizens?
That's a tough one. It means a lot. It's kind of, it really does feel like a family. I think it's, like I said, it's easy to get behind. I really do enjoy working here and working with Bethany. And like I was talking about with all of our, Native artist friends, the ones that have been on your podcast and the ones that we know, it really is a tight-knit, easy to get along group. And I feel like they all are happy to see each other's successes. And that's kind of how I think we are here. It feels like a perfect environment to grow, really. And it is growing, so we're going to have to figure it out somehow. But I do see more relationships and more sales. And I've just been doing this a few months, but I've already met so many great people that love to carry our products, and they just say their customers love them. So that's great to hear. And so I think it's just going to be a lot more of, reaching out and educating people about Mahota and about the culture, and selling a lot of blankets. So Margaret says she wants to see trucks pulling up to warehouses. So that's kind of the size she scales it on. Yeah, but we'll get there. So
yeah, absolutely. And you, Bethany?
Yes, I mean, right along the same lines. It really is a family. I call it my baby as well. I've been here from the beginning so to see where it is, it's just, I mean, I have to brag on Mahota. It's just, I love it. I love being a part of it. I love being a part of this team, and being with Margaret and just watching her dream come true. It's really inspiring. And like Joanna said, it's very easy. It's so fun to come to work. I love it. I actually, whenever we didn't have employees, I spent more time up here than I probably should have.
She's my husband really busy.
My husband would call sometimes, "Are you coming home?" And I get carried away with it sometimes. I just really genuinely love it. I've loved the relationships that I have through Mahota, the people that we've met, the opportunities. It's just so fun.
And the support that we get from people is really awesome.
So inspiring. Yes. And to educate people. I mean, that is literally the core of what we do. We educate. We share it in an appropriate way that is respectful to us, respectful to the Chickasaw Nation and our artists. And so we're able to share that with others. And that is really special to me. Especially,
I think it's an important factor that Chickasaws are telling the Chickasaw story. It's not someone else. So sorry to interrupt you.
No, that's fine. And because it's always respectful to who we are and what we want to do, and because we're the ones doing it. So, and that's important. That's really important for us to share that with others, because like Joanna said, it really wasn't a thing not that long ago. I can remember calling the Smithsonian when I worked at the art gallery, and them needing a Southeastern presence, even with their artwork in their gift store. They just didn't, it was just non-existent. So it's just really special to share that.
What range of products do you have, and what percentages is just the blankets?
So I'll go with the range, and she can talk about what the percentages are.
Okay.
So we have our silk scarves. Then we have the purses in several different designs. Totes, which is the larger tote bag with leather construction and leather straps. And then we have a few different sizes of pillows, 3 different sizes of pillows in several designs. Am I missing anything? Blankets, pillows, purses, totes, scarves, table runners. And then, like you said, there have been things in the showroom that have been either kind of commission or special items that are available that have been, handmade by Margaret or another artist.
And I would say a large percentage, I don't know the exact numbers, but our blankets sell really well. So I would say the biggest majority of our sales is definitely our blankets, with our purses probably being second to that.
When you launch a collection and then the other collection comes about, do you stop production of that prior collection, or do you continue forward in producing that for the public?
We continue forward.
Okay. So how many collections do you have thus far?
Wow, I think 5.
4,
Five?
5.
Okay.
Yes.
I can do my math. If you've been operational for 5 years, I guess it would be 5. Yeah, it makes sense. Is all your employees Chickasaw tribal citizens?
Yes.
That's fantastic.
All 3 of us.
All 3 of you.
Yes. We have a big staff
All
here.
3 department heads, yes.
A big crew. Has any other nation come to you and been inspired by you? It's like, we want to do what you want to do, because they see the success and just the tremendous amount of product that you're producing and the focal point that you're bringing to the Native American culture overall.
Not so much that they want to do what we do, but I would say the Choctaw Nation has been extremely supportive. They carry us in their headquarters, cultural center, and at their Choctaw Casino in Grant, Oklahoma. And they're just really big fans, big supporters, and we love that because Joanna, Margaret, and myself are actually Choctaw as well. So it's nice to have their support.
Absolutely. So what's next? What's next for you guys? For you, Mahota?
For me personally, like I said, I just really anything I can do to help the business grow. Maintaining relationships is really big to me, really important. And that's really something that's sort of instilled as, Chickasaw employees. I mean,
Right.
we are really big on maintaining those relationships. And so I would just like to see that grow and grow for Mahota, and to see our team grow, and just to be along for the ride.
There you go.
Yeah,
There you go.
I think so too. I think, I really am looking forward to kind of traveling and seeing the mill and meeting more of our vendors. Also, another big one that'll be fun is the Chickasaw Festival, that I know is a big, huge, busy time for Mahota. So that'll be a big learning weekend on sales. But yeah, I'm just trying to introduce myself to everyone that's already worked with Mahota, but be their new sales rep and kind of a friendly face. And then, Mahota's this flexibility has allowed me to be with family, so that, family's always on my mind, but it's an extension of Mahota. They're welcome up here and they come in often. So it's just really a great place to be, where I can, work on goals with family and goals with sales at the same time. So, it's just going to get better from here, I think.
Well, if any listeners are wanting to do a little weekend side trip, they can go to Sulphur and visit your store there on downtown.
Yes.
Well, so just a side note,
we'll be there. Let us know.
Yes, if they do call ahead, we will always try to have somebody here. But we are closed on weekends and holidays, and we do pretty much an 8 to 5 Monday through Friday. But that is something I would love to see, especially as we do grow in employees and grow as a business, to where we can be open on the weekends.
And can viewers go directly to your website to purchase product?
Yes,
Always.
It's just mahotatextiles.com, and they can purchase anything. And we usually ship within 24 hours if it's during the week. And then if it's bought over the weekend, we ship first thing Monday morning.
Fantastic. Well, we're just about out of time. Anything you want to add and in the show with?
Thank you for having us. I'm just so flattered to be in such good company with who's been on your podcast before.
I know.
It's really an honor. So yeah, thank you for your time.
Well, thank you. Thank you
Yes,
for
we're
coming on board.
extremely honored and just excited.
Well, you guys have a humongous amount of integrity and pride, and what you do is just a beautiful, beautiful product. So congratulations, and congratulations to all of you, all three of you plus Margaret.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank
Well,
you.
I look forward to seeing much more product and you growing them next year, 2 years, 3 years, and down the road.
Thank you so much.
Well, Joanna, Bethany, thank you for coming on the show today. It's been an honor and a pleasure. Thank you.